Today, we're breaking down the most disturbing lore in all of Mortal Kombat's history. The Flesh Pits. No big philosophy needed here. Just look at the room. Bodies hang from hooks, while failed Kitana clones twitch in cages. Blood runs through channels in the floor. Quietly, like this is a normal laboratory feature. Shang Tsung built the Flesh Pits to create and alter living things for Shao Kahn. Melina is the successful result in the original and 2011 timelines. Edenian appearance, Tarkatan traits, loyalty to Kahn. The failed versions remain where Kitana can see them in Mortal Kombat 9. Some barely have faces. Others look like pieces from several creatures forced together. Meat apparently escaped from this place before his body was finished. That was once a funny secret character. A skinless experiment running away from the laboratory that made him. The joke gets rougher the longer you sit with it. And Shang rebuilds the same operation in the new era. Beneath Ying's fortress, he experiments on Tarkat victims, takes bone marrow, and studies Melina while presenting himself as the man developing her treatment. There is a table down there with Baraka strapped to it. Meat began as a hidden joke in Mortal Kombat 4. Finish the right requirements, and you could play as a skinless model using another fighter's moves. Exposed muscles, exposed eyes, blood everywhere. The developers had already built the anatomy for fatalities, so they let it fight. Later games turned him into an actual character. The usual explanation places Meat among Shang Tsung's Flesh Pits experiments. He escaped before the process was complete, leaving him with no skin and no stable identity beyond the name everybody gave the unfinished body. Armageddon makes him selectable from the beginning. He fights with cleavers and can pull his own head off during special moves. His ending has the power of Blaze, make him keep growing until he becomes an enormous mass threatening the realms. Arcade ending. Happily. Meat barely receives dialogue, relationships, or a clear history. That lack suits the origin. Shang Tsung did not make a person with a childhood and future in mind. He assembled material for an experiment. The experiment climbed off the table and left. Every other Flesh Pit subject we see remains hanging, caged, or floating in a tank. Meat is the one who reached the door. And because Mortal Kombat fans will turn anything into a favorite, people have requested his return for years. Somewhere, Shang Tsung's unfinished anatomy model has a more loyal fan base than half the 3D era roster. The Living Forest eats. The Living Forest has faces in the trees. We accepted that surprisingly quickly. The stage first appears in Mortal Kombat Tekkua. Alright, Dad, 1 to 2. Gnarled trunks watch the fight, eyes moving while mouths open in the bark. Later games show the trees grabbing people and feeding on them. Fatalities throw opponents directly into those mouths. Different bits of lore describe the forest as inhabited by living trees and trapped souls. Some material suggests the trees contain spirits, while other versions leave their exact origin vague. The visual remains consistent. These are aware things rooted in outworld soil, waiting for Meat to walk close enough. Shang Tsung's sorcery appears around the forest in several continuities. Smoke famously hides behind the trees as a secret opponent. Jade can appear there too. Players spend hours trying to trigger hidden fights, while faces in the background chew. Mortal Kombat 9 lets the stage breathe. Branches shift, faces follow the fighters. The forest feels like an ecosystem built around execution. Outworlders still travel through it. Armies move nearby. There are paths. Who maintains the path through a forest that eats travelers? Does Shao Kahn send prisoners to keep the trees fed? Does a full tree stop attacking for a while? Can the faces speak beyond groaning? The games never answer because the Living Forest works best as a place everyone in Outworld treats as normal. Keep left at the Screaming Tree. If you reach the portal, you went too far. Souls have storage rooms. Mortal Kombat treats souls like a resource with inventory management. Shang Tsung takes one and gets younger. He can borrow the victim's appearance, knowledge, and fighting ability. Shao Kahn gathers them in huge quantities. Quan Chi claims dead champions and turns them into revenants. Ermac is thousands of souls pressed into one body. Kronika taps the collection on Shang Tsung's island to power the hourglass. There are actual locations for this stuff. Outworld has a soul chamber. Mortal Kombat 9 has the Soul Nado, a giant vortex hauling spirits toward Quan Chi. Shang's island holds centuries of victims. You can walk around these rooms while green faces stretch out of walls and machinery. The series also confirms that souls stay aware. Jared can speak through Ermac. Liu Kang describes being trapped inside Shang Tsung after his death in Deadly Alliance, forced to witness events through the sorcerer's eyes. Restored revenants remember serving Quan Chi. Certain endings show souls fighting back from inside Shang. That last detail does all the work. Shang Tsung is walking around with people conscious inside him, and he loves collecting more. The souls keep his body young and give him new forms. In gameplay, we get a cool morphing gimmick. For the victim, it could mean years watching through his eyes while he uses your face against your friends. The first game's green soul effect looked almost clean. A little ghost floats across the screen. Later lore makes you wonder what that ghost is seeing after Shang inhales it. Shang Tsung's age has changed with the lore, actors, and timeline. The early core stays recognizable. Soul theft keeps him alive and powerful. In the first game, he appears as an old man. After losing the tournament, he persuades Shao Kahn to restore his youth and arrange another contest in Outworld. Mortal Kombat 2 gives us the younger sorcerer, suddenly able to fight directly. That youth is conditional. Shang keeps stealing souls, changing forms, and serving Kahn because power protects him from being discarded. When he fails, Kahn can age him, punish him, or take away whatever privilege came with service. Deadly Alliance finally lets Shang remove the Emperor from the immediate equation. He and Quan Chi kill a Shao Kahn double, murder Liu Kang, and use the souls flowing into Shang's palace to animate Onaga's army. Shang gets everything he wanted for several minutes. Then he and Quan Chi fight over the amulet. Onaga returns. Raiden explodes. Shang dies, and the souls trapped inside him escape. New era. Shang begins as a powerless fraud selling fake cures. Damashi gives him real sorcery, and he reaches the same habits quickly. Laboratory experiments, stolen forms, soul magic, and betrayal. The face changes. The dependency stays. Shang Tsung can spend centuries becoming the most dangerous sorcerer alive and still needs another victim whenever time catches his body. His famous victory pose tells the whole story. Arms open, green energy moving inward. Somebody else pays for the next year. The island after closing. Shang Tsung's island is one of those locations we know so well that the background horror barely registers anymore. The courtyard in Goro's lair, the pit, the throne room with all that classic music playing over it. Now walk through it as a place where tournaments ran for generations. Goro killed the great Kung Lao and held the title for 500 years. Outworld built 9 consecutive victories during that period. Every tournament needed challengers. Warriors arrived by boat, entered the palace, and mostly vanished. Skeletons remain in cages below the floor. Bodies cover the spikes under the pit. Goro sits in a dungeon surrounded by the lefters. Mortal Kombat 11's crypt goes full haunted theme park with it. The canon status of the crypt is loose, obviously. Kano's corpse being at the dinner table does not establish his official death. Still, the version of the island it gives us is fantastic and horrible. Goro has died on his throne. Kenshi's blindfold reveals angry spirits. Put it on for too long and something from that side can kill you. Reptile crawls through hidden tunnels. The place is rotting with nobody left to run it. Then you find the warrior shrine, the torture halls, the cells, the lower caves. It keeps going. My favorite uncomfortable detail is how ordinary the dining spaces look beside all of this. Long tables, plates, a place for the host to sit down after another group of Earthrealm fighters dies downstairs. And 500 years later, fans visit the island and think, oh sick, the original pit. We are part of the problem. The Netherrealm gets inside. Mortal Kombat's Netherrealm has levels. Souls sink according to their evil, and the deepest regions become survivable, mainly for demons and beings corrupted enough to belong there. Visitors feel the realm working on them. Scorpion returns from it with a flaming skull beneath his human face. Bi-Han becomes Noob Saibot. Serena struggles to maintain distance from her demonic nature. Ashra murders other demons while trying to purify herself out of the place. Quan Chi builds his whole operation around that pressure. His fortress holds revenants, demon assassins, and portals into other realms. People arrive carrying grief or guilt. The environment keeps those feelings raw while he decides how to use them. There are native creatures too. Malak and Draman spend years serving Quan Chi, fighting his enemies and waiting for promises of freedom. Draman's iron mask helps him control his rage. Malak carries the wrecking ball and behaves more like an enormous predator. Quan Chi eventually abandons them, because that is what working for Quan Chi means. The Oni pursue him into Outworld after he escapes. Later appearances reduce them to background casualties and references. Mortal Kombat X has Quan Chi use Moloch's severed head as part of an intro sequence. A former enforcer becomes something he carries into a fight. Liu Kang and Kitana ruling the Netherrealm at the end of Mortal Kombat X is the image that sums the place up best. The Shaolin champion and Edenian princess sit on Shinnok's old throne as revenants. They look comfortable there. That comfort is the problem. Stay long enough, and the realm starts feeling like home. Karen ferries souls across the sea of blood. He has done it for ages. Mortal Kombat 11 introduces him when Scorpion travels through the Netherrealm looking for transport to Kronika's Keep. Karen's fleet can cross waters that ordinary ships cannot survive, making him essential to the final assault. Devora has him tied up and tortured when Scorpion arrives. She needs to stop the fleet. Karen refuses to cooperate, so the kitten insects work on him while his ships sit nearby. Scorpion frees him and earns his help. The character appears briefly, but think about his normal task. Souls arrive in the Netherrealm. Karen moves them across a sea made of blood toward whatever level or prison waits next. He recognizes gods, demons, and the machinery of damnation because this is his route. Then Raiden throws Garez into the same sea with an anchor. Somewhere below Karen's ships, an immortal man keeps sinking. Karen survives the battle and remains at his post as far as we know. The timeline gets rebuilt after Kronika's defeat, so his exact future is unclear. No tower ending, no secret claim to the hourglass. Just an old ferryman who knows every passenger is dead and keeps rowing. Sito drowned off-screen. Rain helps General Shao's rebellion in Mortal Kombat 1. After the main story, he joins Havik in attacking Sito. Rain floods the capital. Most of the event appears through tower endings and later dialogue, so the exact edges of canon have the usual New Era ending haze. Rain's ending directly addresses his guilt. He used his water magic to prove his power and killed thousands. Havik wanted the realm of order broken. Rain wanted recognition. The flood gives both men what they asked for, and Rain immediately understands that the result cannot be taken back. Picture Saito's design from Deception. Tall ordered cities, geometric streets, guards at every gate. Now picture water moving through all of it at once. The officials enforcing curfew drown beside families who had no authority over those laws. Rain later seeks redemption. Havik celebrates. Chaos Reigns introduces Titan Havik from a separate timeline and scales the same disregard up. He captures Geras, takes his time crystals, and combines them with Kamidogu. He collects fighters from multiple realities, fuses variants, and forces captives into a bloody arena watched by other Haviks. The distinction matters. New Era Rain floods Sato with New Era Havik's help. Titan Havik runs the multiversal operation. They are connected ideas involving different versions. Mortal Kombat continuity will absolutely punish you for using Havik without specifying which one now. Order Realm streets are clean. Buildings line up. Guards know the rules. Everything runs on schedule. Then Shujinko breaks curfew and loses years of his life in prison. Deception's Conquest mode uses Sato to show what perfect order looks like when nobody can question the people defining it. Districts separate classes. Travel requires permission. Hotaru enforces law with total sincerity, which somehow makes him more frustrating. He will hear a rule, see the damage it causes, and decide the damage proves enforcement is needed. He later supports Onaga because the Dragon King promises stability. That is Hotaru in one decision. An undead conquering emperor qualifies as acceptable if the paperwork stays tidy. The resistance is dirty too. Darius creates personal tragedies to radicalize people against the government. Daru once served as a Sedan guard. His family was murdered, he killed the supposed attacker, and the authorities imprisoned him. Darius's material implies the resistance arranged the original murder to turn Daru against Sato. His family becomes a recruitment expense. The new era combines Daru and Havik. That version begins with a valid grievance against Sato's regime and takes it toward mass destruction. We eventually get the flooding of Sito and Havik, treating the dead as evidence that order has been broken. I always liked Order Realm because it is one of the few realms where the background NPCs can ruin your life without sorcery. Miss Curfew, fill the wrong form. Spend a chunk of your lifespan in a cell while a guard explains that the schedule keeps everyone free. Most fighters demonstrate a power by attacking the opponent. Havik snaps his own neck. He rips off an arm and hits you with it. He tears pieces from his torso. His body restores itself through chaos magic, so self-mutilation becomes normal movement. Even his missing facial skin feels like part of the uniform. Original Havik comes from Chaos Realm and serves chaos as a principle. He opposes Onaga because one Dragon King ruling everything sounds painfully orderly. He can assist a villain, watch that villain become successful, then turn against them because the new arrangement has become too stable. The Mortal Kombat X comic leans into the cult leader version. Havik uses the Kamidogu's blood code to drive fighters into violent rage. Reiko thinks he is ascending toward godhood. Havik is mostly interested in what breaks along the way. New Era Havik begins in Sato as Dairu. Oppression gives him a recognizable reason to rebel. Then, he helps drown the capital and celebrates the result. Titan Havik takes it beyond one realm and chaos reigns. He captures versions of fighters from other timelines, fuses people together, turns Bihan into Noob Saibot, and uses Jairus' time crystals with the Kamadogu. His arena is packed with Havoc variants watching captives fight for entertainment. A crowd of the same face, all delighted. There is a contradiction there, and Havoc does not care. He preaches freedom while controlling everybody in the room. Pointing it out assumes he wants a consistent political program. He wants the room to keep breaking. Reality is a prison. Let's start right at the beginning, before Earthrealm or Outworld. Long before anybody had a tournament to rig. There were the Elder Gods, and there was the One Being. The story we get around Mortal Kombat. Deception says the One Being fed on the Elder Gods' essences. They eventually fought back using 6 weapons, the Kamadogu, and shattered its consciousness. Those fragments became the realms. Read that again? Because the games move past it very quickly. Earthrealm and Outworld exist as separated pieces of one ancient consciousness. Edenia, the Netherrealm, Chaos Realm, and Order Realm too. Every mountain, city, and person grew inside pieces of something the Elder Gods broke apart. The One Being's consciousness remained active in some form. It wants the realms pulled back together, and its influence may sit behind conquerors who obsess over realm merging. Shao Kahn thinks he is expanding Outworld. Onaga thinks he is gathering ultimate power. Their plans keep pushing reality toward the exact condition the One Being needs. Deception's Kamidogu plot has ridiculous stakes. Shujinko spends decades collecting 6 sacred objects for Damashi. Put those objects together with Shinnok's amulet and the walls between realms can come down. The end result is one consciousness and the disappearance of everybody else. There is a fun fan debate over how literally we should read all this. Are the realms physical pieces of its body? Pieces of consciousness? Both? The text leans toward shattered consciousness and essence, so calling reality a giant corpse goes a little too far. Still, you are living inside part of the thing that wants to wake up, and there is no boss fight after it wakes. No tower, no hidden phase. Onaga's unused deception ending spells out the destination. One existence, one consciousness. Everybody else is gone. The gods permit genocide. The Elder Gods created Mortal Kombat to stop realms from invading each other freely. A realm has to win 10 consecutive tournaments before it can merge with another. Fine, better than constant invasions. Except the rules still approve conquest after victory number 10. Imagine living in Earthrealm during Goro's run. You never entered a tournament. You probably have no idea Outworld exists. Somewhere on a magical island, one human champion loses to a 4-armed prince, and your entire realm moves one step closer to legal absorption. Earthrealm's defenders age. Goro doesn't age on anything close to a human schedule. Shang Tsung steals souls to keep himself young. Shao Kahn can wait through generations. The great Kung Lao wins once, dies in the next tournament, and Outworld carries on for another 500 years. Then, Shao Kahn starts abusing loopholes. Sindel's resurrection inside Earthrealm creates the opening for his invasion in Mortal Kombat 3. In Mortal Kombat 9, Raiden asks the Elder Gods to intervene while Kahn's forces are already tearing through Earthrealm. Their answer is basically, the rule has not technically been broken yet. That scene always annoyed me, in the intended way. Raiden is standing before gods who could end the invasion, and they respond like officials checking a form. Eventually, Kahn attempts the merger without earning it. Now, the Elder Gods act. They empower Raiden, he destroys Kahn, and Earthrealm survives. Look around by that point. Kung Lao and Liu Kang are dead. Most of Raiden's other allies have just been killed by Sindel and claimed by Quan Chi. Great system, lads. Long before Liu Kang, Earthrealm had already beaten Shang Tsung. The great Kung Lao entered Mortal Kombat as the Order of Light's champion and defeated the Sorcerer. Depending on the version, he gets offered a place at court, or the kind of fame any fighter would want. He goes home to the White Lotus instead. That should have been the legend's happy ending. The next tournament brings Goro. Shao Kahn replaces his failed champion with the Shokan Prince, and Goro kills Kung Lao. Outworld begins a run of 9 victories. 500 years pass before Liu Kang arrives to stop the 10th. Fans sometimes say Goro was champion for 500 years, which makes it sound like one long reign without context. It was 9 whole tournament cycles. New Earthrealm defenders would train, enter, and face the same opponent who killed the man their order still celebrated. The modern Kung Lao grows up with that story attached to his name. He is descended from the great Kung Lao and knows everybody measures him against a dead champion. Liu Kang receives Raiden's attention. Kung Lao insists he is ready too. Depending on the game, that pride ranges from charming to fatal. Mortal Kombat 9 gives him an incredible run during the Outworld tournament. He defeats Shang Tsung and Quan Chi together, then takes down Kintaro. He turns toward Raiden, celebrating while the crowd boos. Shao Kahn walks up behind him and snaps his neck. No formal challenge, no rematch for Goro's old victory. Kahn sees an exposed back and takes it. Liu Kang attacks in fury and punches through Kahn's chest. The Emperor survives. Kung Lao becomes another dead champion whose relatives will hear the story later. At the end of Aftermath, Fire God Liu Kang visits the great Kung Lao and chooses him as the champion of the new era. We still have not seen that entire era play out. Mortal Kombat 1 jumps ahead to another generation. Somewhere between those scenes, Liu Kang had to look at the man whose death hung over the Shaolin for 5 centuries and decide how much of the future he should tell him. Outworld ate the map. Outworld's map makes more sense when you stop picturing it as one naturally formed realm. It is an empire made from other realms. Onaga conquered before Shao Kahn. Kahn continued the process, merging defeated worlds into Outworld and keeping their populations as subjects. That gives us the bizarre mix of species and environments we see across the games. Shokan, Tarkatans, Saurians, Oshtek, Naknadans, Edenians, and more, all living under one throne despite having completely different origins. Some groups gained rank. The Shokan became an honored warrior race whenever the Emperor needed them. Tarkatans filled armies. Edenian royals could keep a place at court if they accepted the person who took their realm. That last part produced Kitana, Jade, and Sindel's entire mess. And this is where the games leave a lot unsaid. We hear about Edenia because major characters came from there. We hear about Zatera because Reptile will do almost anything to restore his people. How many merged realms never get named? There are ruins all over Outworld, including dead cities and species with 1 or 2 surviving representatives. Nobody pauses to put a plaque up explaining which emperor destroyed them. Realm merging also makes liberation awkward. Kill Shao Kahn and the absorbed land stays where it is. Edenia has managed to separate from Outworld in parts of the original continuity, but most conquered places remain mixed into the Empire. Their descendants are simply called Outworlders after enough time passes. Kahn's arena crowds feel strange once you remember this. Some of the people cheering for him may descend from populations his empire swallowed. They have grown up under his banners, watching other conquered peoples fight for entertainment. Just another day in Outworld. Mortal Kombat 3 begins after Earthrealm has basically lost. Shao Kahn resurrects Sindel inside Earthrealm, crosses through the opening, and merges the realm with Outworld. Cities empty almost immediately. Kahn takes the souls of the human population, leaving only selected warriors protected by Raiden. The older games communicate this through backgrounds and text. No long cinematic of the population disappearing. You fight on abandoned streets while Outworld towers push into the skyline. The world has been occupied, and most civilians have already become energy inside Shao Kahn. That is easy to overlook now because Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 is bright, fast, and packed with secret characters. The stages are iconic. The subway has trains flying past. The waterfront shows the changed city. The bell tower ends with a body falling through wooden floors. Almost nobody should be there to see any of it. The chosen fighters survive because Raiden shields their souls. Sonya, Jax, Liu Kang, Kung Lao, Stryker, Nightwolf, and the others fight through a realm physically changing around them. Every defeat risks leaving Kahn with nobody outside his control. Sindel's role in the invasion is equally ugly in the original story. Her death once protected Earthrealm. Shang Tsung and Kahn bring her back under corruption and use the Queen's soul as the legal key for crossing the boundary. Her resistance becomes their entry pass. When the heroes finally defeat Kahn, Earthrealm separates and the stolen souls return. Mortal Kombat has resurrected so many people since then that this mass restoration barely gets discussed. An entire planet spent part of Mortal Kombat 3 inside Shao Kahn. Edenia never stays dead. Edenia has had several versions of the same family disaster, and yes, the Sindel retcon makes this section messy. There is no honest way around it. Original timeline first. Shao Kahn conquers Edenia, kills King Jared, merges the realm with Outworld, and takes Sindel as queen. Kitana grows up believing Kahn is her father. Sindel dies by suicide, with her soul creating a ward that prevents Kahn from entering Earthrealm. Later, she is resurrected and corrupted. Kitana spends thousands of years serving the man who killed her actual father. Then, Mortal Kombat 11. Aftermath changes Sindel's history. This Sindel wanted Shao Kahn. She betrayed Jared, considered him weak, and helped the Conqueror take Edenia. Quan Chi later killed her and made the death look like suicide because she was interfering with Shinnok's plans. Fans hated that rewrite. I get it. Her old tragedy became betrayal, and years of stories about corruption suddenly had to share space with a version who enjoyed Khan's rule. Within Aftermath's continuity, Jared's situation is especially grim. His wife turns on him. Khan kills him. His soul ends up packed inside Ermac with thousands of others. Mortal Kombat 1 starts again. Sindel is Outworld's empress. Jared was her loved husband, and Melina and Katana are twin daughters. It finally looks healthier for about 5 minutes. Jared is still dead. Quan Chi builds Ermac. Jared's soul briefly takes control, speaks to Sindel and his daughters, and fights beside them. Then Ermac's other souls push him back down. Sindel dies during the fight with the Deadly Alliance and joins Ermac's collection as well. So there may be a version of Jared and Sindel inside the same body now. Neither one reliably controls it. Very romantic. Li Mei enters the Deadly Alliance's tournament to free her enslaved town. She wins. Shang Tsung and Quan Chi never plan to honor the prize. They take her soul and place it inside one of Onaga's preserved soldiers, completing another body for the Dragon King's army. Bo Raicho interrupts the process and carries her out of the palace. Li Mei's soul returns to her own body, though the brief time inside the corpse changes her. Her Deception biography says she feels drawn toward the new power rising in Outworld. Her tower ending has her betray the heroes, join Onaga, and become his queen. Optional ending. The lingering influence is in the biography itself. This is one of those Deadly Alliance plotlines that could support an entire character arc and mostly gets a few paragraphs. Li Mei entered a tournament, earned her people's freedom, and woke up in somebody else's corpse. Then the Dragon King, whose army she nearly joined, starts pulling at her mind. Mortal Kombat 1 gives her a different disgrace. She once led the Umgadi. King Jared is murdered under their protection, and Li Mei resigns in shame. Sindel holds her responsible. Tanya and the Umgadi treat her departure as betrayal. Li Mei spends years as Sun Du's first constable before the conspiracy around Jared's death finally comes into view. She helps expose Shang Tsung and Quan Chi, earns Sindel's trust again, and fights beside the royal family. The old Li Mei loses her soul after winning. The new era version loses her reputation after failing one duty. She spends both stories earning something an authority has already decided to keep. Reptile believed every promise. Reptile used to be easy to reduce to the secret green ninja. His biographies are miserable. Zatara is conquered and absorbed into Outworld. Most Saurians die. Reptile, or Sizoth, serves Shang Tsung and Shao Kahn while waiting for somebody to restore his species. Shinnok can use that hope. Quan Chi and Onaga can use it too, and all three know exactly what to promise. He keeps changing employers because they keep offering some version of the same promise. In Deadly Alliance, his physical and mental state deteriorates while he remains separated from his own kind. He loses the human disguise, becomes more feral, and follows Natara around because he has nowhere else to go. That leads him to the Dragon Egg. The egg hatches. Onaga's spirit takes Reptile as a host. There is no heroic possession battle shown on screen. Reptile's body becomes the Dragon King, and the story moves forward with Onaga. A survivor spends years trying to revive his people, then loses his own identity inside somebody else's resurrection. New Era Sizoth gets a community again. They reject him because his human shape-shifting is considered abnormal. Shang Tsung captures his wife and son, forces Sizoth to guard prisoners, and threatens the family whenever he resists. Later, Baraka asks the obvious question, has Sizoth actually seen them? No, he has not seen either of them. Shang killed them long before. Sizoth guarded that laboratory, kept people locked up, and followed orders for hostages who were already dead. This one always gets me. Shang did not even need a complicated spell. He needed Sizoth to avoid asking one question because he was scared of the answer. Keiyachi Ren turns species into tools. Goro is Prince of Kuatan. He is also introduced standing in a basement waiting for Shang Tsung to send him another challenger. That gap says a lot about Shokan politics. The Shokan are proud, organized, and powerful enough to influence Outworld's throne. Shao Kahn keeps them close by offering status. Goro becomes champion, Kintaro follows him. Shiva protects Sindel. Their victories become imperial victories, and their losses become reasons to replace them with the Centaurs. Khan actively encourages the rivalry between Shokan and Centaurs. Mataro receives command when Goro's people fall out of favor. Both groups spend energy proving which one serves the Emperor better. Goro's 500-year tournament run makes him famous across realms. The arrangement only stays flattering while he wins. Liu Kang defeats him, and his value drops immediately. Later, original timeline stories give Goro more range. He makes peace with Kung Lao after their ancestral feud. He allies with Katana and tries to repair relations between Edenians and Shokan. Noob Saibot attacks him and leaves him near death. Shao Kahn finds him. The Emperor restores Goro's health in exchange for loyalty. Goro returns to the same ruler who turned his people into imperial muscle. Hard to call that rescue when the bill is obedience. The Mortal Kombat X comics humiliate him further. Goro loses all 4 arms during his conflict with Kotal Khan. For a Shokan prince whose authority comes from physical dominance, it is a very specific punishment. He survives and seeks magical ways to restore himself. Kintaro fares badly too. He burns Cabal, gets beaten several times, and is eventually decapitated by Sonya, while Havok's blood code controls her in the comics. Shiva arguably handles the political game best. She serves Sindel, later becomes queen of the Shokan, and negotiates with Kitana. Even she spends most appearances proving that her people deserve a seat beside somebody else's throne. 4 arms, royal blood, centuries of service. Goro still waits downstairs until Shang Tsung calls his name. Motaro was originally a full centaur. 4 legs, metal tail, huge frame. The centaurs rivaled the Shokan for Shao Kahn's favor and took command during the Earthrealm invasion. Then Armageddon turned Motaro into a 2-legged minotaur-like fighter. The in-universe explanation says the Shokan placed a curse on the centaurs, stripping away their hind legs. Motaro's Armageddon ending has him defeat Blaze and use the power to remove the curse from his entire race. It is an arcade ending, and the real production reason is famous. The team had trouble making a 4-legged bodywork with Armageddon's enormous shared animation and fatality systems. The lore had to explain the technical compromise. Still, look at what the explanation implies. The rivalry between 2 warrior peoples became severe enough for one side to alter the body plan of the other species. Every centaur wakes in a changed body because the Shokan wanted an advantage. The 2011 game quietly restores Motaro's 4-legged design for a brief story appearance. Raiden kills him before Johnny Cage can be attacked. He barely gets to do anything. Sometimes disturbing lore comes from an ambitious story plan. Sometimes the developers could not animate a horse body and create a fatality, so an entire species got cursed. That is Mortal Kombat history too. The Mortal Kombat X comics take Reiko from guy who sits in Shao Kahn's chair to one of Havok's biggest experiments. Reiko wants power and believes he deserves to rule Outworld. Havok gives him access to the blood code through the Kamadogu. The daggers corrupt fighters, trigger violent rage, and channel power toward a larger ritual. Reiko keeps absorbing blood. At first, it makes him stronger. Then he starts surviving injuries that should end him. Havok encourages every step, treating Reiko's ambition like a lever. The promise is godhood. Eventually, Reiko becomes the blood god, swollen with energy gathered through the Kamidogu. He attacks Kotal Khan, Melina, and the other fighters caught in the conflict. The transformation looks powerful for a few pages. It also destroys him. Reiko's body cannot contain what Havok has poured into it. The power ruptures him, and Havok tears off his head to complete the next part of the plan. Reiko spends the comic believing he is the future emperor. He ends as another ritual component. Havok never needed Reiko to rule. He needed someone arrogant enough to keep drinking after the blood started changing him. This comic gets wild. Goro loses his arms. Scorpion becomes corrupted. Raiden gets dragged into the blood code conflict. Several details never receive much attention in the games. Reiko's part is clean though. He asks Havok to make him a god. Havok says yes and means something very different by god. Vaeternus needs blood. Nitara has one perfectly understandable priority. Keep Vaeternus alive. Vaeternians need blood. They have wings, fangs, and all the visual language of vampires, though Mortal Kombat treats them as their own species. In the original timeline, Shao Kahn merges Vaeternus into Outworld. Nitara manipulates Reptile and Cyrax into helping destroy the orb, holding the realms together. Vaeternus becomes free. Good outcome for her people. Cyrax was used, Reptile was lied to. Nitara accepts both costs. The new era gives Vaeternus a food crisis. Its inhabitants are starving, and other realms contain the blood supply they need. Nitara's tower ending shows a solution involving captured humans maintained as permanent food. Tower ending. Possible future. You know the drill. Still, what are the alternatives? Vaeternians cannot vote themselves out of needing blood. Synthetic substitutes do not appear in the story. Somebody feeds them, or they die. Nitara works best when the writing lets all 3 facts sit together. She loves her home. She rescues her species. She creates a nightmare for everybody used as livestock. The New Era performance got most of the attention for obvious reasons. The background problem deserved more time. Vaeternus has an entire civilization looking outward at other populations and seeing dinner. Tarkat has no cure. Old timeline Tarkatans are a species. The New Era turns Tarkat into a contagious disease, and Baraka gets one of the biggest origin rewrites in Mortal Kombat 1. Before the infection, he was a respected merchant. He had money, status, a wife, and children. Tarkat took all of it. His family contracted the disease and died. Baraka lived, which meant watching the same changes continue through his own body. Teeth split through the mouth, bone spikes grow from the skin, blades emerge from the arms. The infected can experience violent impulses and physical deterioration. Outworld sends them away to isolated colonies, where the healthy population can forget about them. Baraka arrives at one of those colonies and finds people waiting to die. So he organizes them, food, protection, some dignity. He becomes their leader because nobody else with authority plans to help. There is a nasty little social detail in the story too. Outworlders often use Tarkatan as though the illness has replaced the person. Baraka was a merchant. Melina is the heir to the throne. Once exposed, both could become members of the diseased group and nothing else. Shang Tsung knows the colonies are easy targets. He abducts patients and performs experiments under the excuse of finding a cure. People will notice missing nobles. Few will investigate missing Tarkat victims. Liu Kang clearly did not intend this outcome, and the game never says he deliberately created the disease. Fans sometimes flatten that into Liu Kang turned a race into an illness, which goes beyond what the story confirms. His timeline still contains it. He gave Baraka a peaceful civilian life, and Tarkat tore through it anyway. Baraka stays remarkably decent through all of this. Honestly, he may be the most heroic he has ever been. He just knows the blades in his arms will probably outlive the rest of him. Melina got Kitana's face. Melina's classic origin is brutally specific. Shao Kahn wants a loyal replacement for Kitana, so Shang Tsung makes one. Same face and similar voice, similar weapons. Then add Tarkatan biology and a personality Kahn can shape from birth. Melina calls Kahn her father. Kahn uses that title too whenever it helps. She wants his approval, wants Kitana's position, and eventually wants Outworld's throne. Everybody around her knows why she exists. If Kitana had remained perfectly loyal, there would have been no reason to create Melina at all. That has to do something to a person. Mortal Kombat X lets her rule briefly after Shao Kahn dies. Kotal removes her, her allies thin out. Devora betrays her, and Kotal orders an execution in front of a court. Melina's death is still one of the nastiest scenes NetherRealm has done. Devora forces insects into her mouth, and they tear through her from inside. Then Mortal Kombat 1 gives Melina everything classic Melina wanted. A real mother and father. Kitana as a loving twin. The legitimate claim to Outworld, finally hers from birth. She contracts Tarkat. Now the teeth are an illness she has to hide. Shang Tsung provides serum, so the future Empress becomes dependent on the same sorcerer who created her in older timelines. He studies her blood while pretending to help. If the court discovers her condition, she could lose the throne and be sent to a colony. I actually like this rewrite a lot. Her fear of replacement becomes fear of exposure. Same visual, different wound. And when Melina eventually rules openly while carrying Tarkat, it gives her a kind of victory the earlier version never got. Scarlet has two childhoods. Here is a retcon I wish the games had spent more time on. Mortal Kombat 9 says Shao Kahn created Scarlet from the blood of fallen warriors. She is a magical construct kept in storage until Kahn needs somebody hunted. Very comic book origin. Very Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat 11 says she was a starving orphan. Kahn found her, fed her, taught her blood magic, and raised her into his service. That version feels more personal. Scarlet remembers hunger. Shao Kahn becomes the person who ended it. Every cruel thing he asks afterward can be framed as repayment, and blood magic gives the hunger a new form. She draws blood from bodies, shapes it into weapons, and uses it to maintain her own strength. Several intros have her speaking about blood with open appetite. Kahn rescued a starving child, then trained her body to hunger for the thing his wars produce in endless supply. She also wants his affection, badly. Scarlet competes with Melina and Kitana, imagines ruling beside him, and treats his magic as a sacred gift. Shao Kahn encourages loyalty, while keeping every servant replaceable. Ask Shang Tsung how secure decades of useful service made him. Her tower ending has her take the hourglass and seek enough blood to reach godhood. Tower ending rules apply here. It is a possible character ending, not the main timeline. Still sounds like Scarlet. A woman who once had nothing gains control of history and immediately starts collecting more. I can take either origin. The Blood Construct version has stronger pulp horror. The Orphan origin explains why she looks at Shao Kahn with something much more uncomfortable than ordinary loyalty. Ermac has a crowd. We are many. You are one. Cool line. Terrible living arrangement. Ermac contains thousands of souls gathered through Shao Kahn's conquests. They share one body and one voice. His telekinesis comes from that collective power, while Kahn's magic keeps the whole mass pointed in the direction he wants. the souls retain personalities. King Jared eventually becomes dominant in the original timeline and steers Ermac away from Khan. Ermac helps Kenshi. He assists Liu Kang's spirit in freeing heroes enslaved by Onaga. For a while, the collection works like a strange redemption story. Still thousands of people in there, though. Mortal Kombat X has Ermac switch from Mileena to Kotal after checking whether Shao Kahn's soul exists inside Mileena. It doesn't, so Ermac changes sides in the middle of the throne room. The collective has enough independence to make political decisions, yet individual souls rarely reach the surface. Mortal Kombat 1 brings Jared forward much more clearly. Quan Chi creates Ermac. Sindel recognizes something in him, Jared takes control, and suddenly Kitana and Mileena can speak to their father again. He sounds calm, he knows them, he fights to protect them. Then the collective reasserts itself. Jared disappears back into we. Later, Sindel dies and her soul joins Ermac too. The game has now placed both dead parents inside a body that walks away under someone else's control. Maybe they can sense each other, maybe they cannot. Mortal Kombat leaves that sitting there and moves on to the next fight. Also, quick fan history point. Ermac exists because players thought Ermacs on an old audit screen hinted at a hidden ninja. It meant error macros. The rumor became a red palette swap, then that red ninja became a walking prison for conquered souls. Best accidental character development in fighting games. The Cyber Initiative. Smoke has 3 separate identity problems depending on which timeline you open. Original timeline. Thomas and Kuai Liang try to escape the Lin Kuei Cyber Initiative. Smoke gets caught. The clan strips away his body, calls him LK-7T2, and programs him to hunt Sub-Zero. He later regains some independence, only for Noob Saibot to find him deactivated and program him again. That is already enough. Then Mortal Kombat 9 lets Raiden save Smoke from conversion. Timeline fixed, right? The Lin Kuei capture Kuai Liang instead. Smoke survives in human form until Sindel kills him. Quan Chi turns his soul into a revenant. He avoids mechanical slavery and receives magical slavery. Now add the Enenra material. In Smoke's Mortal Kombat 9 ending, we learn that a smoke demon called an Enenra lives within him. The ending ties this to Thomas being sacrificed as a child and sent into the Netherrealm. Arcade ending caveat, of course. Main story never fully develops it. Fans spent years waiting for that thread to go somewhere. It mostly sat in dialogue and biography territory. The new era makes Thomas an adopted Lin Kuei brother and gives his smoke powers a practical magical explanation. No cyber conversion, no confirmed Enenra. He still loses the clan when Bi-Han turns on Kuai Liang, and he helps build a new Shirai Ryu from the wreckage. This man has been a human assassin, a cyborg, a revenant, a possible demon host, and an adopted brother driven from his home. Where there is smoke used to be a cute achievement. At this point, it is a threat to his employment status. The original Cyber Initiative has a very simple sales pitch. Machines obey, Sector volunteers, Cyrax objects, smoke runs. The Lin Kuei converts the objectors anyway. The procedure removes most of the human body, suppresses memories, and replaces a name with a serial number. Cyrax becomes LK4D4. Sector becomes LK99. Smoke becomes LK7T2. These are assassins who spent their lives serving the clan, and the reward is having the clan decide their thoughts are an avoidable defect. Cyrax's story after conversion is painfully mundane. He receives an order to kill Sub-Zero, malfunctions in a desert, and becomes stranded. The Special Forces find him and help restore his free will. He can think for himself again. He still lives in the body forced on him. Mortal Kombat 9 swaps Smoke for Kuai Liang. Kuai gets dragged away during the Outworld tournament, disappears for a few chapters, and returns as Cyber Sub-Zero. The heroes recover his mind. Nobody has time to recover his body because Sindel kills him soon after. Quan Chi then claims the soul. Mechanical conversion followed by revenant corruption. 2 different systems take ownership of the same person in one game. Mortal Kombat 11 Cyber Factory makes the scale visible. Rows of Lin Kuei lie in conversion bays while Frost controls the network. Shut Frost down, and every connected body drops at once. One nervous system, an army of shells. Chaos Reigns uses powered armor for New Era Cyrax and Sector, so those versions remain physically human beneath the suits. Honestly good. We have seen enough of the other procedure. Cyrax agrees with the Lin Kuei until the clan demands his body. During Mortal Kombat 9, he and Sector enter the Outworld tournament as human assassins. Sector supports the Cyber Initiative. Cyrax openly questions it and tells the Grandmaster he will not surrender his free will. He still fights for the clan. He defeats Johnny Cage. He follows orders long enough to see where they lead. Then, the clan converts him, Cyber Cyrax returns with the same yellow armor fans recognized from Mortal Kombat 3, but the story lets us remember the human face that objected. His programming tells him to capture Smoke and Sub-Zero. Small pieces of resistance keep surfacing. In the original timeline, Cyrax becomes stranded in a desert after failing to complete the Sub-Zero mission. His systems break down while he waits alone. Sonya and Jax recover him, repair the damage, and help restore his independent mind. He joins the Special Forces after that. A man kidnapped and converted by an assassin clan ends up using the machine body to stop other threats. Mortal Kombat 11 brings back an earlier Cyber Cyrax inside the factory. Kuai Liang and Hanzo remove Sector's control. Cyrax wakes, understands what the network has made him do, and helps destroy it. He chooses to shut himself down as part of the plan. Kuai promises they will restore him. The story moves on before we see that promise completed. Cyrax has always been the emotional center of the Cyber Initiative because he said no before the procedure. Every yellow metal panel appears after the clan heard him clearly. Frost wants Sub-Zero's respect and hates almost every method he uses to teach her. Kuai Liang sees talent. He also sees impatience, resentment, and a constant need to prove superiority. Frost sees a Grandmaster refusing to admit she should replace him. In Deadly Alliance, she steals the Dragon Medallion. The power overwhelms her and freezes her from the inside. Sub-Zero preserves her body, later revives her, and still tries to help. Frost wakes convinced he stole the medallion from her and attacks again. Mortal Kombat 11 takes the insecurity somewhere much more literal. She sides with Kronika and chooses cyberization. Frost becomes the control hub for the restored Cyber Lin Kuei, with every unit linked through her. Her body can remove its own head. The brain housing spins free. Internal machinery replaces any normal idea of anatomy. She wanted to prove she was more than Sub-Zero's student, so she discarded the body he trained, and she finally commands an army. Every soldier in it loses individual control. When Raiden defeats Frost and shuts her down, the entire cyber network collapses. Her dream of recognition places thousands of bodies below one switch. There is some delicious irony there, but Frost would punch you for explaining it. Chaos Reigns gives New Era Sector and Cyrax powered armor while leaving their bodies intact. Frost does not receive a central role in that timeline. Maybe Liu Kang finally found the safest option. Do not give her access to the server room. The dead remember everything. Quan Chi's revenants know who they are. That single fact makes them work. After Sindel's massacre in Mortal Kombat 9, Quan Chi claims the souls of Earthrealm's fallen defenders. Liu Kang, Katana, Kung Lao, Jade, Nightwolf, Smoke, Jax, Stryker, Cabal, and Cyber Sub-Zero become corrupted servants. They recognize Raiden. They remember why they once loved Earthrealm. Quan Chi bends those memories toward resentment, and Raiden gave him plenty to use. His visions failed to save them. He sent them into battles they lost. He killed Liu Kang by accident. Revenant Liu Kang does not need a fabricated reason to hate Raiden. Quan Chi takes a real grievance and removes every memory that might soften it. Mortal Kombat X restores Jax, Hanzo, and Kuai Liang during the fight in Quan Chi's fortress. The others remain dead. Liu Kang and Katana eventually sit on the Netherrealm throne together, looking like a corrupted wedding portrait. The restored characters carry everything back. Jax remembers serving Quan Chi. Hanzo remembers being Scorpion. Kuai remembers losing his body and then his soul. Resurrection returns the witness along with the victim. Nightwolf later describes his Revenant experience as watching from behind his own eyes. He could see the body move and hear himself speak. He could not stop it. That explanation is enough. Just picture Jax watching his own metal hands close around somebody's throat while Quan Chi decides what expression goes on his face. Deadly Alliance opens by killing Liu Kang. Shang Tsung disguises himself as Kung Lao, catches Liu off guard, and helps Quan Chi break his neck. Shang steals the champion's soul. That alone shocked people. Liu Kang had been the central hero since the first game. Deception finds another use for the corpse. Dark Raiden reanimates Liu Kang's body and sends it through Earthrealm as a violent enforcer. The body remembers martial arts. It wears chains and moves without the soul that once made those techniques heroic. Meanwhile, Liu Kang's spirit remains in Outworld. Shang Tsung's destruction frees the souls he held, but Liu chooses to stay behind and help his friends against Onaga. One Liu Kang becomes a ghost trying to save people. The other becomes a zombie killing them. His Deception biography says he feels responsible for what the corpse does, even though he has no control over it. That is such a Liu Kang response. Somebody steals his body, uses it for murder, and he still finds a way to blame himself. Ermac eventually helps Liu's spirit free the Earthrealm warriors under Onaga's control. The zombie body continues as its own character into Armageddon. Fighting games revive characters all the time. Deception split the revival in half and kept both pieces miserable. Grey Cloud was not born as Nightwolf. He earned the mantle. His Mortal Kombat 11 Tower ending says he grew up poor and resented his ancestors. Kano offered money if he stole sacred Matokan relics. Grey Cloud refused, defended the tribe's dignity, and was nearly killed. The Great Spirit judged him worthy and made him Nightwolf. The ending also confirms the role can pass to another Matokan. Any worthy member of the tribe may carry it. That opens the door to earlier Nightwolves, future Nightwolves, and the female Nightwolf concept fans have discussed since the ending. Grey Cloud's own tenure involves a lot of sacrifice. He uses ancestral power to fight threats across realms. During Sindel's attack, he releases enough energy to kill both of them. Quan Chi claims his soul immediately afterward, turning the Matoka Protector into a revenant. Aftermath brings a past Nightwolf forward. He meets his corrupted future version face to face. The Revenant knows every belief and weakness the living man has because they are the same person at different points. Nightwolf wins, continues helping Fujin, and eventually gets betrayed by Shang Tsung. The mantle survives all of this. Grey Cloud dies, returns, faces himself, and potentially gives up the title after taking the hourglass. The tribe can choose another, useful system, hard on the current employee. Noob fell into souls. Noob Saibot has one of the strangest disappearances in Mortal Kombat 9. Quan Chi sends him to protect the Soul Nado, the enormous vortex pulling souls through the city. Nightwolf reaches the chamber and fights him. After losing, Noob gets kicked directly into the column of spirits. The Soul Nado collapses. For years, that was his last chronological moment in the reboot timeline. Fans debated whether the souls destroyed him, scattered him, or carried him somewhere deeper into the Netherrealm. Mortal Kombat X skipped Noob completely. Mortal Kombat 11 brought him back with very little concern for explaining the trip. He survived. That answer fits Noob, honestly. Bihan dies once and becomes harder to remove than most living characters. Throw him into a tornado made from dead people, and he eventually steps out with new shadow attacks. The Soul Nado itself deserves attention. Quan Chi builds it during Shao Kahn's invasion to gather the dead on a huge scale. Souls spiral overhead, while the city below is already being merged with Outworld. It looks like weather until faces begin moving through the funnel. Nightwolf destroys the structure and stops the collection. He later dies fighting Sindel, and Quan Chi claims his soul individually. So, Quan Chi loses one harvesting machine and still receives the man who broke it. Noob returns in Mortal Kombat 11 serving Kronika, speaking as though the Soul Nado did nothing except delay him. He fights Kuai Liang, dismisses every appeal to family, and keeps treating death as the moment he became complete. That creates a very Mortal Kombat sequence. Nightwolf saves thousands of souls by throwing an undead assassin into them. The assassin survives. Nightwolf dies. Both men later work for the same necromancer, and nobody ever tells us what Bihan saw inside that vortex. Ashra trusts the sword. Ashra begins as a Netherrealm demon serving Quan Chi. She develops compassion, turns against him, and finds a sword that seems to purify her whenever she kills evil beings. In Deception, the weapon is called the Kriss. Ashra hunts demons and watches her appearance become more human. She reads the change as proof she is cleansing her soul. Her targets include creatures most players are happy to kill. That makes the arrangement easy to accept. Demon dies, Ashra becomes less demonic. Progress bar moves in the good direction. The new era calls the sword Datusha and introduces a reason to be suspicious. Nitara says Datusha hates Vaternians and manipulates wielders into hunting them. Ashra believes she is destroying evil. The sword may be rewarding her for following its own species-wide grudge. Who do you trust there? Nitara has every reason to discredit the weapon killing her people. Datusha clearly changes Ashra and speaks through a history of vampire hunters. Ashra herself is sincere and does real good beside Liu Kang's champions. This uncertainty is the interesting part. Ashra wants to be human so badly that every successful kill feels like evidence. Her skin changes. Her power grows. The sword keeps finding another target. Suppose Datusha finishes with the obvious demons. What qualifies next? A Vaeternian feeding on blood, a person carrying corruption, somebody the blade dislikes? Ashra keeps the sword after joining the heroes. Nobody puts it in a locked chest for testing. Mortal Kombat has never been great at workplace risk assessments. One of Bihan's few clearly compassionate acts happens in Mortal Kombat mythologies. Serena serves Quan Chi with Kia and Jataka. They are demon assassins who can take human-looking forms. Bihan defeats Serena and spares her. She remembers. Later, Serena turns on Quan Chi, helps Bihan, and asks him to take her out of the Netherrealm. Shinnok appears and seemingly kills her before they escape. Future games reveal she survived. Serena eventually reaches Earthrealm and joins the reformed Lin Kuei. Her freedom remains unstable because the Netherrealm pulls at her demonic nature, and Quan Chi can still influence or control her under the right conditions. Mortal Kombat 1 uses Serena as a cameo and lets her switch openly into a horned demon form. It looks like a useful transformation there. Earlier Serena stories treated that body as something tied to enslavement and the realm she escaped. Bi-Han and Serena cross paths at the exact point their lives head in opposite directions. The demon experiences mercy and starts becoming more human. The human assassin dies and becomes a Netherrealm wraith. I wish the games had done more with them after Mythologies. Yes, Mythologies. The game with the turn button, it still gave us this. Farah outgrows. Tor IR. This section rests on an arcade ending, so keep the canon warning switched on. Farah and Tor may represent two stages of the same species. A small rider directs a huge mount. As the rider matures, the mount weakens and dies. The former rider grows rapidly into the next mount, and a new child climbs onto their back. Tor starts slowing down after Mortal Kombat X. Farah thinks he is ill. He dies, her body grows, and another rider arrives. That is it. A whole life cycle shown in a few ending panels. It also explains why Outworld treats Farah Tor like one name. The pair is temporary. Each rider eventually occupies the role held by the creature who carried them. Maybe Tor knew. The ending never says. He keeps protecting Farah right up to the point his body gives out, and now Farah is carrying somebody else. Scorpion chose wrong. Bi-Han killed Hanzo Hasashi. That part happened. The Shirai Ryu massacre came from Quan Chi. He killed Hanzo's family and clan, then used the Lin Kuei rivalry to point Scorpion at Sub-Zero. Hanzo enters the first tournament believing Bi-Han took everything from him. He gets revenge, kills Sub-Zero, and unknowingly gives Quan Chi another dead warrior to corrupt. One scheme, two wraiths. Mortal Kombat 9 stages the key moment brilliantly. Raiden asks Scorpion to spare Bi-Han and offers to request the Elder God's help restoring the Shirai Ryu. Scorpion wins the fight. He actually hesitates. Quan Chi shows him a vision of his wife and child being killed. Hanzo snaps. He drags Bi-Han into the Netherrealm and burns him alive. When Scorpion returns, he is holding Sub-Zero's skull and already looks ashamed. The victory pose lasts a second. Then, he has to live with it. Years later, Hanzo learns the truth. He rebuilds the Shirai Ryu, becomes human again, and finally corners Quan Chi in Mortal Kombat X. The Special Forces need Quan Chi alive because his magic may restore the remaining revenants. Hanzo knows this. He kills him anyway, and at the exact moment Quan Chi's head comes off, the sorcerer finishes releasing Shinnok from the amulet. Classic Hanzo, completely understandable decision. Catastrophic timing. By Mortal Kombat 11, he has made peace with Kuai Liang and can finally talk his younger Spectre self down from revenge. D'Vorah poisons him during that conversation. Hanzo dies in the arms of the version of himself he just saved. I know the series loves cycling Scorpion through rage, but that death was rough. He had finally become useful to his own younger self. Quan Chi's schemes get complicated. His method is simple: find the wound, press it. Hanzo's family is dead, so Quan Chi blames the Lin Kuei and gains Scorpion. Bi-Han dies with darkness in his soul, so Quan Chi strips away the remaining humanity and gains Noob Saibot. Earthrealm's champions die angry at Raiden, so he preserves that anger inside their revenant forms. He rarely creates the pain from nothing. The Shirai Ryu massacre is the huge exception because he personally causes it, then assigns the blame elsewhere. Quan Chi also keeps backups inside every alliance. He helps Shinnok escape the Netherrealm while secretly holding the real amulet. He joins Shang Tsung to form the Deadly Alliance, kills Shao Kahn's double, and helps murder Liu Kang. The moment their enemies are gone, the sorcerers fight each other. During Mortal Kombat 9, Shao Kahn bargains for Netherrealm support. Quan Chi's payment is the souls of Earthrealm's dead. Kahn agrees. By the end of the game, Quan Chi owns a roster of people who know Earthrealm's defenses and hate its protector. His death is almost too perfect. Hanzo storms the Special Forces base to execute him. D'Vorah arrives with Shinnok's amulet. Quan Chi begins the release spell. Hanzo removes his head. Spell completed. Shinnok escapes. Even dead on the floor, Quan Chi gets the timing he wanted. Bi-Han likes the darkness. Bi-Han gets warned. That matters. During Mortal Kombat Mythologies, Sub-Zero, he steals Shinnok's amulet for Quan Chi and nearly helps destroy Earthrealm. Raiden sends him into the Netherrealm to retrieve it. Afterward, Raiden tells Bi-Han that his soul carries evil and that he can still change his path. Then Scorpion kills him at the tournament. Quan Chi turns the dead Sub-Zero into Noob Saibot. His compassion is stripped away. His voice becomes a graveyard whisper, and his new body behaves like living shadow. He can summon a dark duplicate of himself. In Deception, he finds Smoke deactivated and reprograms him into a partner. Bihan knows exactly what stolen autonomy looks like. He does it to Smoke anyway. Kuai Liang keeps hoping his brother remains somewhere inside Noob. Noob has no interest in being recovered. He describes death as an improvement and talks about Bihan as though the human life was an embarrassing early draft. The new era gives us Bihan before death and confirms he already had serious ambition. He lets his father die, takes control of the Lin Kuei, and sides with Shang Tsung because he wants the clan to become a global power. Titan Havoc later captures him during Chaos Reigns and forcibly turns him into Noob Saibot. Liu Kang removes Havoc's control, but Bihan's body remains altered. He has to be contained in the Temple of the Elements while they search for a cure. So the details change. Quan Chi corrupts a dead soul in the old timelines. Havoc rebuilds a living man in the new era. The uncomfortable constant is Bihan's reaction whenever Kuai Liang offers him a way back. He does not ask for his old life. Kenshi trusted Song. Kenshi used to travel around beating other swordsmen and looking for stronger opponents. Shang Tsung approached him under the name Song and offered exactly what an arrogant young warrior would want: a legendary sword hidden in an ancient tomb. The sword was real. That is important. Good lies usually keep the prize real. Kenshi breaks the seal, finds Sento, and releases the souls of his ancestors. The energy blinds him. Shang absorbs those souls and leaves Kenshi alone inside the tomb. Kenshi eventually learns to perceive through spiritual senses. Sento connects him to his ancestors and helps focus his telekinesis. He becomes stronger, calmer, and far more useful than the man Shang manipulated. He still never gets his eyesight back. The reboot continuity gives him another family problem. Kenshi leaves his son Takeda with Hanzo Hasashi while hunting the Red Dragon. The decision is meant to keep Takeda safe. To Takeda, it looks like abandonment. They have to rebuild a father-son relationship years later while the people who killed Takeda's mother are still active. New Era Kenshi changes again. He belongs to a Takahashi family trapped in the Yakuza and wants Sento back from Johnny Cage, who has it hanging in his house as a collectible. Kenshi initially tries to steal it. Later, inside Shang Tsung's laboratory, Melina slashes his eyes while he protects Johnny. Johnny gives him Sento after the injury. 3 timelines. Sento always comes back, so does the blindfold. The Red Dragon's Movado gets forgotten because he has not returned as often as Kano's crew. In Deadly Alliance, he nearly removes 2 major fighters by himself. He hunts Cabal, defeats him, and steals the hook swords. Then he clashes with Kenshi inside Outworld. Kenshi is already blind and operating far from Earthrealm support. Movado attacks, injures him badly, and leaves him to die. Sub-Zero finds Kenshi and nurses him back to health while both search for a path home. That alliance matters. Kenshi had spent years working alone and hunting Shang Tsung. Kuai Liang had recently rebuilt the Lin Kuei and watched the wider Earthrealm force collapse against the Deadly Alliance. 2 isolated warriors keep each other alive while Onaga returns around them. Movado assumes the job is finished. He later loses to a restored Cabal, who takes back the hook swords. Like most Red Dragon victories, the success creates another feud. The organization's methods are colder than Kano's chaos. Long infiltration, targeted assassinations, trophies taken as proof. Shu Hao embeds with the special forces. Movado removes rivals. Dagon waits behind the structure. Kenshi's injury is one biography paragraph among dozens in Deadly Alliance, but picture the practical scene. Blind swordsman in Outworld, stabbed and abandoned. No portal home. Sub-Zero, of all people, becomes the person who sits beside him until he can stand. Sometimes the disturbing detail is the amount of time between the fight and the rescue. Takeda's mother, Suchin, is killed by the Red Dragon. Kenshi believes his enemies will use the boy next, so he leaves Takeda with Hanzo Hasashi and the rebuilt Shirairyu. Safe place. Terrible explanation. Takeda grows up believing his father abandoned him. Hanzo becomes the person who trains him, protects him, and eventually helps Kenshi tell the truth. Their reunion does not instantly fix anything. Takeda understands why Kenshi left and still carries the years of anger. He joins Cassie Cage's team with Jack Lee, Kung Jin, and eventually becomes one of Earthrealm's better young defenders. His telepathy comes from Kenshi. The bladed whips and armor come from Shirairyu training. Every part of his fighting style carries one side of the family split. Takeda and Jackie later become engaged. Then he vanishes from Mortal Kombat 11's main story, while the Time Crisis drags almost everybody else's past versions into the room. Fans spent years asking where he went. Mortal Kombat 1 finally brings Takeda back as DLC and changes the relationship. New Era Takeda is Kenshi's cousin, connected to the Yakuza and pursuing his own mission against organized crime. Same names, different generation. This is what multiple resets do to family trees. In one universe, Kenshi is his father, Suchin is his murdered mother, and Hanzo raises him. In another, Kenshi is the cousin he once worked beside in a criminal clan. At least the whip stayed. Kitana served her father's killer. Kitana is around 10,000 years old in the classic continuities. We see the heroic fraction of that life. Shao Kahn raises her after conquering Edenia and killing Jared. Kitana believes he is her father and works as his assassin. She helps the Empire for thousands of years before learning where she came from. How many missions is that? The games rarely list them. We know she is feared, highly trained, and trusted with sensitive work. Conquered people encountering Kitana would see Shao Kahn's daughter arriving with steel fans. They would have no idea she belonged to another conquered realm herself. Mileena gets created when Khan begins doubting Kitana's loyalty. Even after thousands of years of service, he prepares a replacement. Mileena carries Kitana's face and enough Tarkatan aggression to suit the Emperor better. Kitana discovers the truth and changes sides. Khan imprisons her. Jade receives orders to retrieve her. Sindel returns under hostile control. Every member of Kitana's family becomes part of the response. The 2011 timeline compresses her awakening and death into a very short period. Kitana discovers Mileena in the flesh pits, learns Khan lied about her parents, joins Earthrealm, and reaches her mother during the cathedral attack. Sindel strikes her down. Liu Kang holds Kitana as she dies. Quan Chi brings her back. She spends the next 25 years as a Revenant and ends Mortal Kombat X, ruling the Netherrealm beside Liu Kang. Mortal Kombat 11 finally lets a younger Kitana take control of the story. She unites the Tarkatans and Shao Kahn, defeats Shao Kahn, and becomes Kitana Khan. That scene got a genuine cheer out of a lot of fans. Kronika's defeat resets the timeline soon afterward. Kitana wins Outworld after 10,000 years and gets roughly one afternoon with the title before history changes around her. One line in Jade's Mortal Kombat 11 biography. Her family gave her to Shao Kahn as a child. That is all the explanation we get. She grows up at court beside Kitana, trains as an assassin, and becomes an Imperial bodyguard. Kahn is the only parent figure she knows. Kitana is the friend who shares her entire life. When Kitana turns against the Emperor, Jade receives the order to bring her back. Some versions leave killing her as an option. Jade has to decide whether childhood loyalty belongs to the ruler who owns her or the friend who treated her like a person. She chooses Kitana. Khan's response is immediate. Jade becomes an enemy. Mortal Kombat 9 lets us watch the break happen. Jade first tries to stop Kitana from entering the flesh pits. Then, she sees what Shang Tsung created, understands why Kitana rebelled, and fights beside her. Sindel later kills them both in the cathedral. Quan Chi turns Jade into a Revenant. She returns in Mortal Kombat 11 through the time collision and gets to see what happened to her future self. Her tower ending suggests Kronika arranged the deaths of Jade's parents because they threatened Khan's control. Optional ending, so keep it in that box. It fits the rest of her childhood uncomfortably well. No clone tank here, no demon possession at the beginning. A family handed over a child, and the court trained her to kill whoever the Emperor named. Tanya first appears as an innocent Edenian, asking Liu Kang for help. She is working for Shinnok. Mortal Kombat 4 reveals that Tanya helped the fallen Elder God and Quan Chi enter Edenia. She lures the heroes into danger, betrays her own realm, and begins a reputation that follows her through several games. In Deception, she serves Onaga. Her biography explains that resisting him seemed pointless, so she joined the Dragon King and helped pursue the Kamidogu. Tanya's loyalty usually lasts until a stronger side appears, or her survival needs a new arrangement. Mortal Kombat X connects her to Mileena's rebellion. This time, she wants Edenia separated from Outworld and helps Mileena in exchange for that promise. When Kotal captures her, Tanya offers Rain's location to save herself. Rain thought they were partners. Classic Tanya. The new era takes a very different route. She leads the Umgadi, loves Mileena, and risks her position to keep Mileena's Tarkat secret. Her conflict comes from protecting the royal family while breaking Umgadi rules. That rewrite works partly because longtime fans expect the knife. Every scene with New Era Tanya has people waiting for the betrayal that never arrives. She stays with Mileena. Titan Havoc's timeline then gives us an Emperor Rain and Empress Tanya pairing, because the multiverse enjoys bringing old suspicions back through side doors. Across the earlier timelines, Tanya survives by making deals before anybody else realizes one is needed. In the new era, she finally chooses a person over the exit route. Sindel cleared the cast. You remember the scene? Everybody does. The Earthrealm team gathers in the cathedral during Mortal Kombat 9. Shao Kahn has poured Shang Tsung's soul into Sindel, making her absurdly powerful. She walks into the room alone. Cyber Sub-Zero gets torn apart. Jax goes down, Stryker, Smoke, Cabal, Jade. Kitana tries to reach her mother and receives a fatal strike. Nightwolf finally sacrifices himself to kill Sindel. It happens fast. Fans have argued about the power scaling ever since. Characters who won major fights minutes earlier die after one exchange. Some barely defend themselves. The scene feels like the writers needed the roster moved into Quan Chi's possession before the final chapter because, well, they did. That production reason somehow makes it feel nastier. There is no ceremony. Stryker spent the invasion fighting monsters as an ordinary cop and gets brushed aside. Cyber Sub-Zero survives forced conversion and dies before he can process being human inside a machine. Jade loses to the queen she protected. Kitana approaches Sindel as a daughter and gets struck down. Then Quan Chi collects them. Sindel's personal responsibility depends on which version of her lore you accept at that point. Mortal Kombat 9 presents a resurrected, corrupted queen. Aftermath later insists she loved Shao Kahn and willingly chose his side. Those versions sit badly together. I am not fixing that argument in one section. Nobody has managed it in years. The concrete result stays the same. When the scene ends, almost the entire Earthrealm cast is on the floor. Jax came back tired. Jax has been through enough continuities that even his arms have multiple origin stories. In the older timeline, he chooses cybernetic enhancement. Mortal Kombat 9 has Ermac rip both arms off telekinetically. The reboot version wakes up with metal replacements, keeps fighting, gets killed by Sindel, and returns as one of Quan Chi's revenants. Mortal Kombat X restores him to life. The story then gives him something fighting games often skip, years afterward. He retires to a farm. Vera dies. Jackie joins the Special Forces despite everything that career did to him. Jax lives with memories of the Netherrealm and the things his own body did under Quan Chi's control. By Mortal Kombat 11, he is depressed, isolated, and exhausted. Kronika approaches with an offer to erase the whole chain of events. Jax agrees to help her. People call that turn out of character. I think the setup sells it. He has already tried strength, he has tried retirement. He has his family telling him he survived, while survival is the part he cannot stand carrying. Then past Jax arrives and gets to see the future version of himself working for Kronika. Imagine meeting yourself before the arms, revenant years, and funeral. The younger man thinks he is looking at a traitor. The older man is looking at somebody who has no idea what is coming. Jackie reaches him eventually. He turns against Kronika and joins the final assault. He is still tired afterward. The story does not put a green glow around his head and call the trauma cured. Good choice. Jackie's Mortal Kombat. 11 Tower ending is only a possible ending. It is also one of the few that genuinely sticks with people. She takes the hourglass and thinks about Jax. He lost his arms. He died. Quan Chi turned him into a revenant. Raiden restored him, but the memories followed. Vera died later, and Jax's grief made him vulnerable to Kronika. Jackie has watched her father survive every stage and enjoy almost none of the survival, so she changes his history. Jax avoids the mission that started the damage. He keeps his human arms. He lives peacefully with Vera. The ending shows them together, happy, with no Special Forces nightmare swallowing the family. Jackie is missing from the picture. Changing Jax's path also changes how he and Vera build their life. Their daughter is never born. Jackie understands this before making the choice and does it anyway. There is no memorial because nobody remembers her. Jax cannot mourn a child he never had. Vera cannot know what their absent daughter traded for the peaceful timeline. Jackie watches them from outside the new history for a moment. Then the ending closes. No gore, barely any movement, just two parents smiling beside an empty space where the protagonist used to be. Sonya followed Kano. Sonya enters the first Mortal Kombat tournament because Kano is there. In the older continuity, he murdered her partner. In the reboot, his actions lead to the deaths of Special Forces personnel under her command. Sonya follows the Black Dragon onto Shang Tsung's island, gets trapped with her unit, and discovers that her criminal investigation has crossed into a war between realms. Kano keeps surviving. He sells weapons to Outworld. He helps Shao Kahn's invasion. He joins whichever army creates the best route away from Sonya's custody. Every time she closes the distance, a sorcerer, emperor, or time merger puts another layer between them. The rivalry consumes most of Sonya's adult life. Jax loses his arms during the wider war. Johnny becomes her husband. Then the marriage collapses under the pressure of her work. Cassie grows up inside the Special Forces world Sonya helped build. Mortal Kombat 11 finally lets Sonya kill Kano in a way he cannot escape. A younger Kano has been pulled into the present. Sonya defeats him and shoots him. Present Kano watches the bullet hit his past self and begins disappearing. She gets the man she chased for decades. Then Sonya dies in the same game. At the Netherrealm fortress, debris traps her beneath the structure. She orders Cassie to leave and detonates the explosives manually. Cassie listens through the radio while her mother destroys the base. Minutes later in story time, Kronika's time collision brings a younger Sonya into the present. Cassie sees her dead mother walking around with no memory of raising her. Sonya spent years chasing one man who refused to stay caught. Cassie loses her mother and receives an earlier copy before the grief has even settled. Kano sees Shao Kahn's invasion and finds a customer. That tells you most of what you need to know about the Black Dragon. They traffic weapons, technology, information, and people. Kano gives Outworld access to Earthrealm equipment, helps trap the Special Forces, and changes allegiance whenever the current boss becomes a bad investment. The wider membership is a gallery of people who should never share a group chat. Cobra discovers he enjoys killing during a riot. Kira runs weapons while disguised as a man. Jarek throws Sonya from a cliff in his Mortal Kombat 4 ending, then gets thrown down by Jax. Cabal has reformed and relapsed across timelines. The Red Dragon adds another layer. Dagon's organization predates the Black Dragon and considers it an inferior breakaway. Mavado hunts Cabal. Shu Hao infiltrates the Special Forces and destroys the Outer World Investigation Agency portal with a small nuclear device in his chest. Yes, Shu Hao. We remember him when it is funny. Kano's best Mortal Kombat 11 detail is having his younger self around. Present Kano knows that if young Kano dies, both versions disappear. He still puts him in combat because every asset gets used. Sonya eventually kills the younger Kano. The older one starts bleeding from injuries that never happened to his current body, then vanishes. Kano managed to get himself killed retroactively by treating his own past like hired muscle. The Kombat Kids inherit it. Johnny Cage's green glow comes from an ancient Mediterranean warrior cult that bred fighters to serve the gods. Mortal Kombat drops that information into the reboot continuity and leaves most of the cult unexplored. Who selected the bloodlines? Which gods did they serve? How many generations knew what was happening? We get the inheritance and almost none of the history. Johnny's power activates most strongly when someone he loves faces a divine threat. During Shinnok's invasion, the fallen elder god attacks Sonya. Johnny throws himself between them, glows green, and suddenly has enough power to fight Shinnok. Years later, Cassie does the same while Shinnok tortures Johnny. Her aura activates. She defeats corrupted Shinnok and saves Earthrealm. Johnny spent his early life treating the glow as part of his action star image. Cassie grows up knowing it is real, yet she cannot summon it whenever she wants. The trigger is fear for family. That is a rough superpower. Wait until a god is about to kill somebody you love. Hope the ancestors switch on. The family already has enough ordinary pressure. Sonya prioritizes work, Johnny handles insecurity with jokes, their marriage falls apart, and Cassie becomes the commander expected to outperform both parents. Sonya dies destroying the Netherrealm fortress in Mortal Kombat 11. A younger Sonya then arrives through time and meets the adult daughter she has not raised yet. Past Johnny also meets older Johnny. He is horrified by the clothes, then by the emotional maturity. The green energy is the clean part. The Cages have to conduct family therapy during an apocalypse, while two versions of Johnny keep interrupting each other. Kung Jin grows up under the shadow of Kung Lao and the expectations of a family connected to the Shaolin. He does not fit comfortably inside either. After Kung Lao's death, Jin takes one of his cousin's possessions and later becomes a thief. He steals to survive, carries anger toward Raiden, and avoids the Shaolin path that everyone assumes should be waiting for him. Raiden catches him attempting to steal from the Sky Temple. Raiden pushes Jin toward the Wushu Academy. Jin worries the Shaolin will reject him because he is gay. Raiden answers that the Shaolin care about what is in his heart, then sends him toward the life he had been avoiding. It is a small character exchange by Mortal Kombat standards. No realm explodes. Nobody gets possessed. It tells us a lot about why Jin's sarcasm stays up all the time. He joins Cassie's team and spends much of Mortal Kombat X challenging authority, especially when authority resembles the god he blames for Kung Lao's death. He fights Kotal, protects civilians, and eventually proves himself as a Shaolin archer. Then, he disappears from the next main game alongside Takeda. Mortal Kombat 11 includes references and cameos, but the Time Merger chooses plenty of dead villains before finding room for Kung Jin. The Revenant version of his famous cousin appears while Jin remains off-screen. His darkest material is quiet compared with the rest of this list. Hunger, grief, family expectations, and fear of rejection. Human problems in a universe that usually adds spikes. Original timeline Johnny Cage cannot stay alive. Johnny is killed during Shao Kahn's invasion, with later retellings often connecting the death to Motaro. The merger of Earthrealm and Outworld blocks normal passage to the afterlife, so Johnny's soul returns to his body and he helps defeat Khan. After the realms separate, his soul starts leaving again. Johnny asks Raiden to restore him for the fight against Shinnok in Mortal Kombat 4. Raiden does. Johnny comes back, helps save Earthrealm, and turns the entire experience into another film project. Deadly Alliance kills him again. The Earthrealm heroes attack Shang Tsung's palace and lose. Onaga later resurrects Johnny and the others as enslaved warriors. Ermac and Liu Kang's spirit eventually free them. By Armageddon, Johnny has experienced death, heaven, divine resurrection, another death, and magical enslavement. His biography has him receiving visions and taking a leadership role because most of Earthrealm's usual authorities are missing. The reboot keeps him alive longer and gives him a family. That version watches almost everybody else die in Mortal Kombat 9. Quan Chi later begins turning him into a revenant during Mortal Kombat X, and Raiden barely reverses the process. Johnny spends the series making jokes about sequels, while his own body keeps getting renewed for one. His acting career also uses the adventures. Mortal Kombat becomes part of the Johnny Cage filmography in some continuities. Imagine dying twice and still arguing with a studio over adaptation rights. Kabal never catches up. Healthy Cop, burned alive by Kintaro, rebuilt by Shang Tsung, recruited by Kano, rejects Kano, killed by Sindel, razed by Quan Chi. That is Kabal's Mortal Kombat 9 week, more or less. The respirator keeps him alive after the burns. His speed suddenly turns him into one of Earthrealm's strongest fighters, and he barely gets a chance to understand the power before the cathedral scene removes him. Mortal Kombat 11 brings a younger Kabal into the future. Kano shows him the scarred version and claims Sonya caused it. It is a perfect lie for that moment. Kabal sees his own destroyed face. He knows the injury is coming. Kano only has to attach Sonya's name. Kabal attacks her. The actual source was Kintaro during Outworld's invasion, followed by Kano and Shang keeping Kabal alive. Young Kabal does not have the story mode menu. He has a future corpse-looking version of himself and a criminal mentor speaking with confidence. For the fastest man in the cast, he spends an impressive amount of lore, arriving late to the truth. Kabal's original timeline runs differently from the burned police officer story in Mortal Kombat 9. He begins as a Black Dragon criminal, leaves the gang, and becomes one of Earthrealm's chosen defenders during Shao Kahn's invasion. The experience changes him. For a while, Kabal is a genuine hero. Mavado nearly kills him. The Red Dragon warrior takes Kabal's hook swords as trophies and leaves him badly injured. Havok finds Kabal and restores him. As usual, Havok's help comes with a direction attached. Kabal rebuilds the Black Dragon. He recruits Kira after watching her fight her way out of a weapons deal gone wrong. He recruits Cobra, a martial artist who has discovered that real killing gives him a thrill training never did. Kabal tells them they will prove themselves by fighting each other. The hero from Mortal Kombat 3 becomes the leader assembling a new criminal generation in deception. There is no mind control spell involved. Havok nudges him. Trauma, resentment, and the need for purpose handle the rest. Kabal's biographies have always pulled him between both sides. Cop in one timeline, criminal in another, revenant after death. Kano's recruit whenever a lie about the future lands correctly. His mask remains constant because every version eventually needs it. You can change the job, allegiance, and decade. Kabal still wakes up scarred, reaches for the hook swords, and listens to somebody explain who deserves the blame. Curtis Stryker gets mocked because he brought a gun and a backwards cap to a roster full of gods, ninjas, and monsters. That is exactly why his story works. He is a police officer on duty when Outworld invades. The city changes around him. Civilians vanish. Creatures drop into the streets. Stryker has no ancient bloodline, secret clan, or prophecy. He starts fighting because he is already there. Mortal Kombat 9 gives him one of the better invasion chapters. He and Kabal watch monsters pour through the city. Kintaro burns Kabal nearly to death. Stryker keeps moving, defeats several Outworld fighters, and reaches Raiden's group. Then Sindel kills him in the cathedral. Quan Chi brings Stryker back as a revenant. That means the ordinary officer who stumbled into a supernatural invasion ends up serving the Netherrealm beside Liu Kang, Kitana, and Nightwolf. The games do almost nothing with him afterward. He appears among the Revenants and gets a few background moments. No restoration. No chapter about how a normal human handles years trapped behind his own eyes. Fans joke about Stryker arresting Melina or using a taser on Raiden. Fair enough. He has always looked slightly lost in the roster. But look at his actual week. City invaded. Partner burned. Monsters fought. Queen kills him. Necromancer owns his soul. He should have called in sick. D'Vorah is full of bugs. Literally full. Devora is Kitin, a species from the conquered island realm of Arnyak. Her body carries insects, larvae, and organs that function as part of the hive. Extra limbs unfold from her back. Small creatures leave her body, attack something, and crawl home again. She calls herself this one. Maybe that is normal chitin speech. Maybe the idea of one individual does not fit a body operating as a colony. The games never pin it down. Her allegiances make more sense once you accept that the hive comes first. Devora serves Shao Kahn, Kotal Kahn, Shinnok, and Kronika at different points. She can sit beside Melina as an ally, betray her to Kotal, and personally carry out the execution without treating any of it as hypocrisy. And yes, the execution. Devora kisses Melina and sends flesh-eating insects into her mouth. They consume her internally, then crawl back out. Later flashbacks reveal Devora killed Baraka during Kotal's rise. In Mortal Kombat 11, she poisons Hanzo after he talks his younger self out of revenge. NetherRealm gave one newcomer the deaths of Melina, Baraka, and present-day Scorpion. Fans were furious. Devora walked away from the third one too. Some endings and intros discuss chitin reproducing through hosts. Her fatalities take that idea all the way, planting creatures in a body and turning it into a nest. Those animations are exaggerated gameplay, of course. Her basic biology still supports the concept. I don't need Devora to be secretly stronger than everybody. I like that she survives because she is slippery, disgusting, and always willing to change sides half a second before the room collapses. Kotal Kahn looks reasonable beside Shao Kahn. That comparison does a lot of work. He comes from the Osh Tech and draws power from sunlight and blood. During an earlier visit to Earthrealm, Mayan people worship him. He shares knowledge and receives blood offerings. Later, as Khan, he talks about honor while still cutting himself or others to power magic. He overthrows Melina and brings more structure to Outworld. Representatives from different groups sit at his court. He does not randomly hammer subordinates for speaking. Then, Melina's rebellion threatens him, and his restraint shrinks. Kotal uses Devora. He persecutes Tarkatans associated with Melina. By Mortal Kombat 11, Baraka describes his people as nearly exterminated. During Mortal Kombat X, Kotal even considers giving the Earthrealm heroes to Shinnok if the deal protects Outworld. That is Kotal in full. He genuinely wants stability. He can be loyal, thoughtful, and capable of compromise. Put his throne under enough pressure, and the neighboring realm becomes acceptable payment. Shao Kahn returns and treats Kotal with none of the respect Kotal hoped his title had earned. He blinds him, breaks his back, and takes him prisoner. Aftermath goes further. Shao Kahn decapitates him, and his head rolls into frame while Sindel stands beside the old emperor. Kotal spends years proving he can rule differently. Shao responds with one swing. Shinnok poisoned the Jinsei. Earthrealm has a life force called the Jinsei. It flows through a chamber beneath Raiden's temple and connects to every living thing in the realm. Shinnok reaches it in Mortal Kombat X. He enters the chamber, pushes his corruption into the Jinsei and transforms. The water turns red. Dark energy spreads outward. Corrupted Shinnok grows into the giant horned form we fight at the end of the game. Cassie Cage stops him using the green power in her bloodline. Raiden later enters the Jinsei to purify it. Earthrealm recovers. Raiden comes out wrong. The corruption changes his lightning to red and hardens his personality into Dark Raiden. He decapitates Shinnok, who cannot be fully killed, and carries the living head into the Netherrealm. Liu Kang and Kitana receive it as a warning. Shinnok's eyes are still moving. Mortal Kombat 11 barely uses Dark Raiden because the arrival of past Raiden causes the present version to disappear. I know some fans were disappointed. The Mortal Kombat X ending promised a version of Raiden willing to attack other realms before they could threaten his own. We got one severed god head and a costume change. Great scene though. Cetrion is the elder goddess of virtue. She helps Kronika erase history. That contradiction drives her entire role in Mortal Kombat 11. Cetrion commands earth, water, fire, and air. She speaks with divine calm. She kills the other Elder Gods with Kronika's help, attacks Earthrealm's heroes, and retrieves the crown needed to restart time. Whenever anybody challenges the morality, Cetrion reaches for balance. Shinnok represents darkness, she represents light, and Kronika supposedly maintains the correct relationship between them. Mother's plan becomes the definition of virtue. The crown scene is especially revealing. Past Jax and Jakui recover it from Shang Tsung's island. Present Jax, already working for Kronika, confronts them. Cetrion threatens Jackie, and Jax gives up the crown to protect his daughter. Virtue uses a father's trauma as leverage. Near the final battle, Kronika needs more power. She tells Cetrion to surrender her essence. Cetrion hesitates, says she loves her mother, and lets Kronika absorb her. The Elder Goddess disappears into Kronika's body. No resistance. No last-second recognition that the plan has consumed its own symbol of goodness. Cetrion treats obedience as proof that she fulfilled her purpose. Shao Kahn has daughters he uses. Quan Chi has servants he corrupts. Kronika has an elder god, who can split mountains and still waits for permission to say no. Raiden burned Liu Kang. This scene hurts because it is awkward. Nobody gets a great final line. Nobody has a clean plan. Raiden is panicking over a 3-word message from the future. Liu Kang has lost faith in him, and almost every ally around them is dead. He must win. Raiden finally decides the message means Shao Kahn must be allowed to merge Earthrealm without tournament victory. The illegal act will give the Elder Gods grounds to destroy him. Liu Kang hears that as Raiden surrendering the realm. He attacks. Raiden fires lightning to defend himself. Liu Kang's flame meets it, and the combined energy surges back through Liu's body. He burns from the inside while Raiden watches, then falls into the arms of the god he was trying to stop, and Raiden's plan works. That part is awful. Khan begins the merger, the Elder Gods finally empower Raiden, and the invasion ends. Liu Kang dies while opposing the plan that saves Earthrealm. Quan Chi brings him back as a revenant and lets the resentment grow for years. Mortal Kombat 11 later shows Raiden that versions of this fight happened across multiple timelines. Kronika kept arranging circumstances that drove the two of them against each other because their combined power threatened her. Eventually, Raiden stops the cycle by merging his essence with Liu Kang and creating Fire God Liu Kang. Great payoff. Huge moment. I still think about the earlier shot more. Liu Kang's skin cracking with fire, Raiden holding him. Neither of them has time to understand that the stupid message was technically right. Mortal Kombat X ends on a brilliant threat. Raiden has absorbed Shinnok's corruption while purifying the Jinsei. He walks into the Netherrealm with red lightning, drops Shinnok's living head in front of Revenant Liu Kang and Kitana, and announces that Earthrealm will destroy threats before they arrive. Then Mortal Kombat 11 opens, and past Raiden's arrival erases Dark Raiden from the present. That is basically it. Fans waited years to see Raiden become an aggressive protector. The original timeline had already explored a similar turn after his failed explosion against Onaga. That Dark Raiden reanimated Liu Kang's corpse and sent it on violent missions while Liu's spirit operated separately. Very weird era. Great zombie design. The reboot version looked ready to invade the Netherrealm, Outworld, or anybody else he judged dangerous. His attitude grew from understandable failures. The Elder Gods kept refusing to help. Earthrealm's champions died while Raiden followed rules. Liu Kang died during a disagreement. Shinnok reached the Jinsei. Red Lightning Raiden decides waiting caused all of it. That logic could have made him terrifying without turning him into a cackling villain. He still loves Earthrealm. He just values every other realm less. Mortal Kombat 11 uses the past version for the Liu Kang merger instead, which works for that story. Dark Raiden becomes a severed head delivery service and disappears. One of the franchise's best cliffhangers. One chapter of employment. I know. Terrible idea. Aftermath begins with Shang Tsung arriving to explain that Liu Kang cannot rebuild history safely without Kronika's crown. The crown was destroyed with her keep. Shang can send a group into the past to recover it. Fujin and Nightwolf go with him. They watch Shang manipulate almost every room they enter. He helps revive Sindel. He convinces people to take risks. He gains access to the soul chambers and grows stronger. Fujin distrusts him openly, but the mission keeps requiring one more use of the sorcerer, and Shang is useful. That is his best defense. Every time somebody suggests killing or abandoning him, another locked door appears that only he can open. Once the crown is secured, the act ends. Shang betrays Fujin, Nightwolf, and Raiden, drains the god's souls, and takes control of the final battle. In the bad ending, he defeats Liu Kang and becomes Keeper of Time. That timeline produces the Titan Shang Tsung, who returns in Mortal Kombat 1. Fujin's own tower ending has him live countless mortal lives, so he can understand the people gods keep trying to govern. It suits him. He believes experience and compassion matter. Shang spends Aftermath demonstrating how somebody can exploit both. He never convinces Fujin that he is good. He convinces Fujin that there is no safe way to finish without him. That is enough. Bo Raicho trained Liu Kang, Kung Lao, and other Earthrealm champions. He came from Outworld. That origin prevents him from representing Earthrealm in Mortal Kombat. Entering on Earthrealm's side would still count as an Outworld fighter participating, potentially giving Shao Kahn the victory or invalidating the defense. So Bo Raicho teaches humans to fight battles he cannot safely enter for them. This arrangement lasts across generations. He helps shape the champions, watches them leave, and learns which ones came back. Deadly Alliance hits him personally. Liu Kang dies. Kung Lao seeks Bo Raicho for further training and prepares to avenge his friend. The Alliance kills most of Raiden's warriors anyway. During Deception, Bo Raicho rescues Li Mei from having her soul sealed in Onaga's soldier. He carries her out while Tarkatans pursue them. Later, Onaga's return forces him into direct action across Outworld. Mortal Kombat X brings him back for a cameo during Shinnok's attack. He fights bravely and gets overwhelmed by the fallen god's forces. The drunken fighting style and toilet humor make Bo Rai-cho easy to treat as a joke. Underneath it, his career involves preparing younger people for a tournament system that bars him from taking their place. He can teach Liu Kang how to win. He cannot stand beside him when the bracket starts. Shujinko lost decades. Anyone who played Deception's Conquest remembers the pace. Shujinko runs errands. So many errands. He begins as a boy desperate to join the tournament and meet great warriors. A glowing entity named Damashi appears, claims to represent the elder gods, and chooses him for a sacred mission. Find the Kamidogu. Travel every realm. Train under whoever can help. Shujinko agrees, because of course he does. He is a child being told the gods picked him. Then you watch him age. He helps villagers, gets scammed, trains with Bo Rai-cho, meets major characters before their famous stories, breaks Sato's curfew, and spends years in prison. Damashi waits. The mission resumes afterward like the sentence was a loading screen. By the time Shujinko has all 6 Kamidogu, he is an old man. Damashi reveals himself as Onaga. The entire pilgrimage gathered the tools the Dragon King needs to merge the realms. Shujinko's special ability to copy other fighters came from Onaga too, given so the errand boy could survive long enough to finish the delivery. There are villains who steal a character's family or body. Onaga takes Shujinko's sense of having spent his life well. Every genuine friendship and good deed sits inside a mission aimed at ending reality. Shujinko does defeat him. He gathers the warriors, absorbs their combined techniques, and smashes the Kamidogu that make Onaga invulnerable. Very satisfying boss defeat. He is still an elderly man standing at the end of a quest he began as a child. No hourglass, no reset, just the knowledge that Damashi could have stopped speaking at any point and given him 40 years back. Onaga walked through Raiden. The Deception opening still rules. Raiden fights Shang Tsung and Quan Chi. They defeat him. Shang and Quan immediately turn on each other because their alliance lasts exactly as long as expected. Quan wins. Then the doors open. Onaga walks in, and the mummified army kneels. Quan Chi attacks. Shang Tsung gets back up and joins him. Raiden joins both sorcerers. We have Earthrealm's protector, the man who killed Liu Kang, and the necromancer behind Shinnok all attacking one target together. It barely slows Onaga down. Raiden releases his divine essence in a massive explosion. The palace disappears. Shang and Quan die. Raiden dies. Onaga walks out of the fire carrying the amulet. The Kamidogu have made him almost invulnerable. His earlier life already established how dangerous he was. First Emperor of Outworld, commander of an army that could return after death, powerful enough that Shao Kahn chose poison over a direct challenge. His resurrection takes Reptile's body. His army needs souls placed into preserved corpses. His plan relies on Shujinko gathering the Kamidogu. Onaga keeps returning by using somebody else's work, body, or spirit, and Raiden's failed explosion has consequences. He reforms later with a corrupted outlook, retrieves Liu Kang's corpse, and sends it around killing people. Onaga walks away. Everybody else in the room comes back wrong. Armageddon gathered everyone. Pull up Armageddon's opening cinematic and watch how fast it stops looking like a tournament. Every fighter is there. Heroes run beside villains toward the Pyramid of Argus. People fall, bodies pile up, and the pyramid literally rises beneath them. Whoever reaches Blaze can gain enough power to decide the fate of the realms. The reason for this battle comes from Delia's prophecy. The growing number and power of combatants will eventually destabilize reality. Argus and Delia prepare Blaze as a safeguard. Their sons, Taven and Dagon, will awaken, complete a quest, and determine whether Blaze strips the warriors' powers or destroys them. That plan goes wrong before the pyramid appears. Dagon wakes early. He builds the Red Dragon, kills his parents, and spends centuries preparing to beat Taven. Taven wakes late and spends Armageddon learning how much of his family has already collapsed. Then everybody reaches Blaze anyway. The original outcome shown at the start of Mortal Kombat 9 has Shao Kahn defeat Blaze. Kahn gains overwhelming power and kills nearly everyone, including Raiden. Raiden sends, he must win backward through time while Kahn crushes his skull. So, the Divine Population Control System gathers every dangerous warrior in one place and hands the strongest survivor more power. They built a magical battle royale to prevent magical battles from destroying the realms. No wonder it failed. Blaze begins as a background figure chained in the Pit Sakusu stage. Fans see a burning man far below the bridge, and years later the series explains what he was doing. Delia created Blaze to monitor the strength of the realm's warriors. He would signal the approach of Armageddon and eventually stand at the top of Argus's pyramid as the final test. Then, Onaga's followers capture him. They force Blaze to guard the dragon egg that will restore their emperor. This interference delays his original mission and twists the timing around Taven and Dagon's awakening. By the time Blaze returns to the Armageddon plan, Dagon has already awakened early and destroyed the family behind it. Blaze eventually reaches the pyramid and waits at the top while every fighter tries to kill him. His power is supposed to resolve the crisis. Taven's ending says, the energy instead makes the combatants stronger, which means the safeguard fails even when the intended hero wins. Mortal Kombat 9 presents Shao Kahn as the one who ultimately takes Blaze's power in the doomed timeline. Continuity around the exact winner is untidy. The stable piece is Blaze's job. Watch everybody become too powerful, then let one of them absorb an even larger amount of power. He spends ages as an elemental alarm system, gets enslaved beside an egg, and finishes as the prize in a massacre. All because somebody in Mortal Kombat saw the burning figure under the bridge and asked who he was. Taven wakes expecting his parents to explain the quest. Argus and Delia are dead. His brother Dagon killed them. The temples prepared for Taven have been raided. The dragons responsible for guiding the brothers are captured or endangered. Armageddon is already approaching. Taven spends conquest mode traveling from one ruined piece of the plan to another. He learns about Blaze, finds messages left by Argus, and fights members of the Red Dragon. Every answer arrives after the person who could explain it has gone. He also has to process the competition itself. Argus favored Taven. Delia worried the contest would split the brothers. Dagon's early awakening turns that fear into centuries of resentment. Taven finally confronts Dagon and defeats him. He reaches the pyramid and fights Blaze. In his ending, defeating Blaze makes the other combatants even more powerful. The quest fails at the final instruction. Then, the next game opens with Shao Kahn holding Blaze's power and Taven nowhere in sight. Armageddon was marketed around Taven as the new central hero. The reboot timeline erases him from the main action almost immediately. A character can spend a full game learning that his family died while he slept, complete the mission they built for him, and still be overwritten by the villain's victory in the opening of the sequel. At least Conquest lets him punch Dagon first. Armageddon's divine plan depends on two sleeping princes waking at the right time. One wakes early. Dagon's dragon, Karo, mistakes the signal and revives him before Taven. Dagon learns about the coming contest for Blaze's power and becomes convinced his family has betrayed him. He starts preparing centuries in advance. Preparation means founding the Red Dragon. The clan grows into an international and inter-realm criminal network. It experiments on dragons, creates hybrids, infiltrates the special forces, and hunts rival organizations. Movado and Shu Hao grow out of that structure, along with projects involving captured dragons and human test subjects. Dagon murders Argus and Delia, his own parents. He enslaves Karo and uses the dragon to open portals for the clan. The divine guide who woke him becomes transport equipment. Taven eventually wakes and expects a quest. He finds his temples attacked, his parents gone, dragons imprisoned, and his brother running a criminal empire. The original plan had plenty of warning signs. Argus and Delia put both sons into suspended animation, leave dragons to handle the alarm, and turn the fate of reality into a competition between siblings. No direct explanation waiting beside the bed, no family meeting. One bad wake-up destroys the family before Armageddon starts, and the Red Dragon survives beyond the quest. Kenshi and Takeda inherit that problem generations later. A magical alarm clock creates organized crime lasting centuries. Geras sank for ages. Geras can die. He just cannot remain dead. Kronika designed him as a fixed point. Kill him one way, and he returns with greater resistance to that method. Beheading, crushing, burning. He remembers previous deaths, and comes back harder to kill. Mortal Kombat 11 uses this for a scene that is almost meaner than a fatality. Raiden wraps Geras in chains, attaches an anchor, and drops him into the sea of blood. The current has no known bottom. Geras sinks. He cannot drown permanently. His lungs can fill, his body can fail. Then he returns in the same place, still chained, still descending. Later material confirms he eventually escapes. Fine. The sentence between those events could have lasted centuries from his perspective. His tower ending has him take control of time and attempt to build a perfect timeline. Mortals keep deviating from his design. He begins to understand why Kronika became obsessed, and finally arranges for the hourglass to run without a keeper so he can rest. That ending is optional. The exhaustion feels canon. Liu Kang's new era gives Geras a far better role. He guards the hourglass as Liu Kang's trusted friend and chooses to protect the timeline. Titan Havoc immediately identifies the problem with an immortal guardian. You can keep him alive inside a machine for as long as the machine needs power. Geras gets captured again. When Liu Kang frees him, Geras is still calm. I would have bitten through the hourglass by then. Kronika kept restarting. Kronika has done this before, many times. Mortal Kombat 11 shows Raiden flashes of earlier timelines. Different clothes, different locations. Same basic ending. He and Liu Kang fight, and Raiden kills him. Kronika arranges that conflict because their combined power threatens her. She rarely needs to walk into a scene and force the attack. She tunes history until distrust does the job. Her resets also maintain a balance between Shinnok and Cetrion, darkness and light, as she defines them. Whenever events move outside the design, she starts over. New relationships vanish. Children never get born. A villain who reformed in one version begins again without the experience that changed them. Mortal Kombat 11's final battle takes place while Kronika rewinds time toward the beginning of history. The environment disappears in stages. Her keep falls away. The prehistoric era passes. Reality heads toward a blank slate while Liu Kang fights her. Cetrion has already surrendered her essence by then. Kronika absorbs her own daughter for extra power. This is where time travel gets hard to picture. We never see piles of Kronika's victims. A reset removes the pile too. Every person in the erased timeline loses the past, future, and evidence that they were present. How many resets? The game never gives a number. Enough that Geras remembers dying again and again. Enough that Raiden has killed Liu Kang across a montage of worlds. Kronika calls the next attempt a new era with the confidence of somebody who has said it before. Liu Kang assigned lives. Fire. God Liu Kang rebuilds history with good intentions. I want to state that clearly before the comments decide this section is calling him Kronika. He creates a far more peaceful era. Outworld and Earthrealm cooperate. Melina and Kitana grow up as sisters. Reptile's species survives. Baraka has a family and successful career before Tarkat. The tournament becomes a friendly demonstration, with the 10-victory annexation threat removed. Liu also decides where old villains begin. Shang Tsung lives as a powerless fraud. Quan Chi works in a mine. Xiao becomes a general beneath Sindul's rule. Liu remembers the destruction their previous versions caused and removes their easiest routes to power. Then, Titan Shang Tsung appears as Damashi and tells them what Liu did. New Era Shang has no memory of stealing souls in another life. From his perspective, a god deliberately gave him a small existence for crimes committed by somebody with his face. Damashi offers the power and status he feels were taken. He accepts immediately and proves Liu had reason to worry. This is one of the more interesting questions in Mortal Kombat 1, and the story could have pushed it further. How much responsibility does Liu carry for assigning those lives? How much agency does Shang show by choosing the same cruelty once power becomes available? Both characters have a strong case. Then Shang starts draining people in a laboratory and makes the practical answer easy. The new era also produces tragedies Liu never planned. Tarkat, Jared's death, Baihan's betrayal, Kenshi losing his sight. Liu refuses to restart everything when those flaws appear. When Tarkat and betrayal appear, Liu Kang keeps the timeline running. He lives with the bad draft. Rain spends his early appearances as an Edenian prince with more ambition than loyalty. Armageddon gives him the divine reason he believes he deserves a throne. He is the son of Argus. Argus had a relationship with Rain's mother outside his marriage to Delia. Rain grows up away from the royal family, eventually learns he is a demigod, and interprets the secret as proof that Edenia owes him power. Taven and Dagon receive temples, dragons, and a quest built by their parents. Rain received no place in the plan. He attacks Taven during Armageddon and declares his heritage. The brothers barely have time to process that Argus left another son outside the family before the battle for Blaze continues. Rain's tower endings often turn the resentment into conquest, give him ultimate power, and he targets Edenia, Argus, or anybody who denied his status. Mortal Kombat 11 has him learn more about his mother, and punish those responsible for hiding the truth. The new era changes the origin again. Rain becomes a mage, once High Mage of Outworld, with no confirmed divine parentage in the main story. General Xiao appeals to his pride and recruits him into rebellion. Rain later helps Havoc flood Saito and kills thousands. Old Rain discovers he has godly blood and demands a kingdom. New Rain earns his position through magic and still needs the world to acknowledge him. Different father, same problem. Every ending happened. Remember finishing a Mortal Kombat 11 tower and seeing your character take the hourglass? Mortal Kombat 1 effectively says, versions of those outcomes happen. The battle between Liu Kang and Shang Tsung fractured time. Different champions became titans in different branches. There is a Titan Kitana, a Titan Kung Lao, villain titans, and whole timelines shaped by somebody who got one arcade ending's worth of planning before receiving control of history. Titan Shang Tsung comes from the bad ending of Aftermath. He defeats Liu Kang, takes the crown, absorbs Raiden and Fujin, and sends Shao Kahn and Sindel to conquer more realms. By Mortal Kombat 1, his own timeline is secure enough that he begins poisoning Liu Kang's. He uses the name Damashi. Longtime fans immediately recognize it from Onaga manipulating Shujinko. Same fake Holy Messenger routine, new victim. The final battle brings fighters from many timelines to the pyramid. Some are heroic, some are bizarre fusions. Stung Lao, Quantum Chai, Ninja Mime versions. The sequence is funny, deliberately. Behind the joke, every one of those hybrids came from a complete reality. People had histories there. Then Titan started pulling fighters across branches for a war at the same pyramid where Armageddon already ended one timeline. Titan Havoc survives and continues the problem in Chaos Reigns. He merges timelines, collects variants, and uses them in blood sports. Multiverse stories can make death feel cheap. Mortal Kombat found a different problem. There is always another version available to torture. Nobody stays finished. After all of that, the detail that best sums up Mortal Kombat may still be the simplest one. People do not stay where death puts them. Bi-Han dies and becomes Noob Saibot. Hanzo dies and becomes Scorpion. Liu Kang dies, loses his soul, and has his body walking around separately. Sindel dies, returns corrupted, and wipes out a room. Earthrealm's defenders die, wake as revenants, and remember every second. Even characters who escape death carry pieces of the attempt. Kenshi gets Sento and loses his sight. Jax gets his life back with revenant memories attached. Cabal survives the burns with a respirator fixed to his face. Jarrus survives everything because the dying part keeps repeating. Then time starts breaking. Kronika restarts history. Liu Kang builds another version. Titan Shang Tsung attacks it. Titan Havoc collects variants. The pyramid fills with combinations of characters who should never share one body. This franchise began with a secret green ninja and a tournament on an island. By deception, reality was the scattered consciousness of the one being. By Mortal Kombat 1, arcade endings had grown into competing timelines, and somehow the small details still hit hardest. Syzoth asking whether his family is alive. Jackie looking at a photograph she is missing from. Kung Lao turning around too late. Jarrus sinking with the anchor. Jared getting a few seconds with Sindel before Ermac says "we" again. That is the disturbing Mortal Kombat lore I remember. Specific people reaching the moment where they realize what has been taken. The announcer says, "Finish him," after every match. In Mortal Kombat, the word "finished" has never meant much.